freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 271 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearms.com, your nationwide hometown gun shop. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is the unexpected firearms owner.
Mm-hmm.
We should have music in that. And our guest is Sharon Estrada. Sharon is an educator, a mom of a 13-year-old daughter, and is a member of the DC Project, Arizona chapter. Sharon is an Arizona native, but raised as a self-proclaimed Army brat, as both of her parents served in the Army.
By profession, Sharon is a teacher, earning her undergrad in early childhood education from ASU, and then 2 masters, one in curriculum and instruction with a focus on literacy from GCU, and then one in educational leadership from NAU. And while Sharon has always believed in the Constitution, her advocacy of the Second Amendment is a newfound and possibly unexpected passion. Welcome to the show, Miss Sharon.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Absolutely. And full disclosure, we're cousins. So like twice removed once. I don't know how it works. Our family
like
tree.
our grandmothers are siblings or sisters, I think.
There you go. All right. Work the tree back from there.
Right.
At any rate, it's so amazing to have this opportunity to talk to you because, you know, you're not like one of these big, you know, Second Amendment, you know, social media influencers, or, I mean, you might become that actually, but you are just a normal, everyday American citizen. And especially because your profession, your level of education and your profession is in education, you're a mom, you are someone that a lot of people would pigeonhole and say, well, surely, you know, she isn't one of those gun-toting people.
She went to NAU and she went to college.
Yeah.
And she likes guns?
Apparently. Let's ask her.
How did you get past? Did you have to hide your way through that or what?
Well, so it's kind of funny. So of course, growing up on military posts, we're protected by firearms. My daughter's father, he owns firearms. He always had firearms in our home. And I never thought anything about it. I was like, they're there to protect us just in case. I never went shooting with him, anything. So fast forward, I happened to meet a very nice gentleman. And he, when you meet him, you would probably think, yes, he would own firearms. He has a lovely beard, super kind. And of course, the first time we hung out, we talked politics because that's what you do when you meet new people. And,
well, that's what we do, but
right. And you would think that him and I were very polar opposites, just based on the things that we thought were important. And of course, he started talking about the Second Amendment. And I was like, no, I totally support the Second Amendment. Like, absolutely. And then he talked about the policies and the people in office that are working towards taking those rights away from us. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, guy, sure. Like, I get it. They want your guns. Okay. But I'm like, how does he grow such a lovely beard but not be so smart? I just don't understand. So I had to do some of my own research. And in my research, I was really taken aback. that is something, in fact, our rights are slowly being infringed upon, and they want to take these little tiny bites, and eventually it's going to be gone. Now, I had already made the decision to purchase my own firearm because I was moving out on my own with my daughter, just the two of us, and we'd always had firearms in our home to keep us safe. And then I realized, oh my gosh, there's no firearm to keep us safe in my home, and there's no one to use it for me.
Yes.
So I don't have some man who's going to come and save me. And so I had to start doing my own research. And luckily, my bearded friend is a great resource. Cheryl has been an amazing resource, and I'm just reaching out to people who know about firearms, and here I am. So now, anytime I get the opportunity, I'm like, hey, do you want to go shooting? Hey, did you guys know that this is what's going on? And introducing vocabulary to friends who would not have expected it. So yeah, my social media, I start posting some little pieces, and I was really taken aback by the people who reached out to me. Because as you said, as an educator, as a mom, I'm Puerto Rican, so Hispanic, there is a generalization of what we support and believe in. And so, and being in education, of course, a lot of the people on my social media are also, I mean, they're all in education too. And so it's, how can I say this? The Second Amendment is definitely bipartisan. It's all of our rights. But unfortunately, I think people-wise, it's bipartisan. As you get higher up in government, it's not so bipartisan, which is the problem. And people are reaching out to me all summer. Hey, Sharon, I noticed that you go shooting. Hey, Sharon, I noticed that you have a gun. Like, can you tell me more about that? I've had people call me say, hey, let's have coffee. I thought they just wanted to catch up. No, they're like, so what's the difference between an AR-15 and a shotgun?
Awesome.
Oh, I didn't know that's what we were talking about, but I would love to have that conversation with you. It's very interesting.
Well, Sharon, you know, you
That's
are
fantastic.
different. Dave Ramsey would say you're one of the different ones. You're different because when you start back to the story where you talked to a man that had a beard and told you that they were coming to take your guns away, and you stopped and you did research, and then you figured out on your own where to go with that. And I'm proud to know you because that is awesome. Because if everybody would just take a moment and not just listen to everybody else, but gather information and then figure it out on their own, we wouldn't be in the condition we're in right now.
Absolutely.
And the fact that you're right, you are in a group that is anti-gun. And it's a shame because
three groups that are traditionally supposed to be anti-gun, or maybe four.
She just said it. You know, we label and we put people in these groups, and it's wrong because they're not. It's not that way, and it's just great. I'm really glad.
Well, and it's funny because I recently had brunch with a girlfriend of mine, and she brought her friend, and her friend is very she's active politically, but definitely more left-leaning. And we were all having lunch. Because I view the Second Amendment as bipartisan, I don't think that I'm coming as some like super conservative person saying, come, we've got to go and get our guns and walk around. Like, I wasn't doing that. But it's a conversation that I have. And I left to go to the restroom. And then I came back. Well, later I talked to my girlfriend, and she's like, she was really happy that you brought it up. And she was kind of taken aback because a lot of women don't talk about those kind of things, especially in her circle. And she's like, and she would love to learn how to shoot, and she would love to be able to protect her kids, and she would love, but she didn't know where to go, because if you keep yourself in this circle of people who are like, oh my gosh, guns are scary, you feel shamed for like wanting to know more, but then you also don't even know who to ask, which is the problem. So I hope that being vocal will bring people that are like, gosh, I never thought of it for myself, but I know Sharon, and I know that she kind of likes the same stuff I like. Maybe it's not so crazy.
That is awesome.
Absolutely. And, it's so funny. Part of my journey into this whole advocacy world that I'm in, it was because I felt like there was so much misunderstanding of even who I was. And that for, hundreds of years, having a gun in the house or multiple guns in the house were no different than having a drawer full of knives.
Right.
It would just another tool or set of tools to do a specific thing. And then somehow that became unnormalized, if that's the right word, talking to an educator. But I'm trying to, in many ways, re-normalize the idea that there's nothing fringe or, weird about having these particular tools in your home. And it's just about being educated on them and with them. True?
Exactly. No, absolutely. Because I think that carrying does two things for me. First, it makes me feel safer because, I mean, we can say whatever we want, men and women equal, we absolutely equal rights. However, if a big bearded man comes to me, chances are he can overpower me. So I simply feel safer. But also carrying makes me more aware of my surroundings, makes me more, I feel more careful. I'm more mindful of my actions. I'm not that I'm out there running my mouth all the time, but you have to be mindful of those things.
Yes.
And so I feel like I'm more aware of what I'm doing, who's around me, who's near me, why they're near me, which is just, I guess, good practice that I should have been doing anyways. But it should definitely be normalized. It shouldn't be like crazy that somebody wants to protect their home.
Exactly. And they're one and only, God-given life.
Right.
It's funny that I don't know if I can explain this right, but so when I'm not carrying a gun, I don't act the same way as when I'm carrying a gun. And it's not in a bad way. It's just like when I carry a gun, it's like I'm thinking the next step before it happens because I know that things get ugly quick. Whereas if I'm not carrying a gun, it's just I react immediately. I don't know if I'm explaining that right.
No, and
but
I
by
think
carrying
that
a gun, you have a
Sharon
responsibility.
was saying very similar. Go ahead, Sharon.
So, I mean, it's kind of easy, but it takes me to Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. So knowing that I am carrying something so powerful, that is a huge responsibility and not one to take lightly. And so I definitely need to be really mindful about everything that's happening around me because things do escalate really quickly. And I don't want to be on the news.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, the old phrase is an armed society is a polite society, and it really is kind of underscoring everything that you both are saying, is that we do tend as firearms owner, we do tend to be the most courteous and the most law abiding and the most responsible citizens because we understand all these things that you both are saying. And I think it's a wonderful, we really are an amazing example to others. And personally, I never open carry. I don't think I've ever in my life open carried, except for when we took that training class together. Yes. And then I felt like, man, it's just so like there,
Right.
And but so I conceal carry, and so I know and I understand that if I'm concealed carrying, who else in here is, and my little thing about polka dots or my camo, because I dress like, Betty Crocker from the Betty Crocker of the 2A movement. People aren't necessarily going to spot me across a room and say, oh, she's one of those gun people,
Right.
And so who else wouldn't be so easily stereotyped? And where some people want to use that as a fear place to make others afraid. You don't know who's carrying in here, right? I see it as, yeah, I don't know who else is carrying in here. And so I'm going to handle myself with my training and with courtesy and, and being very aware of my surroundings.
Well, and
My
I just
pers-
think it's the
Go
whole
ahead.
idea of like not knowing who's carrying and not knowing who has firearms in their home. That sounds really safe to me, simply
Mhm.
because some person isn't, hopefully, I mean, if they're crazy, I guess, but they're less likely to, if they're like, gosh, I don't know who can protect themselves, they don't know who their target should be.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
if you're carrying a gun in the open, then you are giving the person an advantage because now he knows and can prepare a step ahead of you.
Mhm.
Whereas if it's concealed, he's not going to do that. And the
Mhm.
same way within your house, if they know you own guns and they want to come in your house, they're going to be prepared stronger
Mm.
to fight that versus, oh, they don't, we just go in there and get that stuff and go.
Mm.
Oh, wait a minute. Kind of thing. So,
I know, it's like
Right.
people that have like anti-NRA bumper
yeah,
stickers on their car and
yeah.
stuff. It's like, aren't you sort of like letting people know that you can't defend yourself? But
Right.
whatever, to each his own.
Right. On your,
Um,
yeah.
so, this journey has been somewhat unexpected, and finding yourself maybe on a national radio podcast program
Right.
talking about this might be a little unexpected, but what would you say has maybe been one of the most surprising parts of this journey for you?
It's going to sound cheesy, but as I did my research, the arbitrary, just random, like gun law suggestions are crazy to me.
Yeah.
And like just looking at, so who decides what high capacity is?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Thank you.
So now, as a teacher who likes research-based curriculum and research-based practice, is this based on a specific calculation? Probably not. It's probably some random number that someone chose. Okay, you can have 10 rounds in your Glock. Okay. So
Based
random.
on
Based on what?
cause science. That's always the
Right.
answer these days. Cause science.
Because
What?
science. And what's been most surprising is the random laws. Like how does that supposed to help? And then the money that goes into fighting and pushing for more infringement
Yeah.
blows my mind, because the people that are putting the money towards it aren't the people that are definitely going to be impacted by not being able to protect their families.
Mm-hmm.
As a teacher, I worked in Title I schools, which if you're not familiar, that's low income schools. And it was a passion of mine. And unfortunately, a lot of possible gun control laws, especially potential taxes that could be coming, those are the people that it's going to impact.
Yes.
People that can afford to pay $200 a 50-round drum will be fine.
Yeah.
But why are they more entitled to protect their families than people who can't? And so that has been the most shocking piece for me.
Wow. Yeah. It'll be a luxury to be able to defend your home and defend your family. That's and that right there should wake a lot of people up to realize that they're putting a dollar number somehow, some way. They're putting a dollar number on that ability, and then that it's being set up as a permission-based system with all of the laws on top of laws on top of laws. And our founders that took the time to put quill to parchment and write this little document right here. Look how thick that is. As a teacher, how long do you think that's going to take me to read? Like,
not very long. I
not
mean, if you're at 6th grade level, reading about 150 words a minute.
there you go. It's
You get
about
it
an
done
hour
quick.
this,
Yeah.
this entire document.
But it's the same people that are saying that, you shouldn't have to pay $15 for a ID card because it's hard for the low income
Yeah.
people.
Right.
But then you say you want to tax them for ammo and bullets,
Mm-hmm.
and raise prices because of all the regulations.
Yeah,
And now who are we depriving?
exactly.
Exactly.
And as
Yeah.
I was saying, the founders that wrote this document, they were very careful to add a clause to only the Second Amendment, our right to keep and bear arms, that says shall not be infringed. Period. Just no asterisks, no, unless you can make some extra tax dollars off of it. None of that. It was just shall not be infringed. Stay out of the way. The government can't get on this side of that personal individual liberty. And it's
Well,
gotten so mucked up over the
I
years.
think of a lot of the politicians, the higher up people that are trying to make decisions for us, think as low income people as bad people.
Possibly.
They
Right.
shouldn't have guns. They're the bad ones. And
Possibly.
Right.
our gun shop is in a low income area, and I feel for the people that are in the area.
Mhm.
I feel for them because they come in, and guns are not cheap, and so we try to have a gun for every type.
Price
And
point.
it's hard because the lower quality gun, the less effective that gun's going to be and everything. So I
Possibly.
struggle with that, trying to help them get into something that they can afford without having to get a mortgage on their house.
Yeah.
But
And then to
so
tax the heck out of it. What are
Right.
you trying to say, Sharon?
Well, then that just leads me to the whole idea. There's people trying to purchase firearms and they're law-abiding citizens
Mm-hmm.
doing law-abiding things. So they aren't our concern, but we already have laws that say stealing is bad and you're not allowed to steal, you're not allowed to murder, you're not allowed to do all those things. Maybe we should focus on that and let our law-abiding citizens protect themselves should they need to.
Amen.
All
How
of us.
much more simple can it be, and yet we keep it so complicated? So we have in the last few months seen, I think the number is now over 8 million. 8 million,
347.
right? Brand new, first time gun owners who are on this unexpected journey right along
Yes.
with each other and yourself. Um, what would you say would be something very important for those people to know?
So what's funny is I actually know some of those people and might have gone gun shopping with a couple of them.
Might perhaps.
Might have perhaps. Education, 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 educate,
Mhm.
educate, educate.
Yes.
Get your CCW. If it's not required by your state, it's great information to have. You need to know the laws.
Mhm.
Take classes. You're not going to all of a sudden know how to clear malfunctions or how to clean your firearm. You're not going to know, and that's okay. Nobody expects you to know.
Mhm.
Take classes. There's so many resources at so many price points. Learn, learn, learn. And
Mhm.
even if you think you already know, learn some more
Oh,
and practice.
so
Oh,
well said.
and you can't have too much ammo. If you see it, buy it. You can't have too much.
Yes, because that is part of the practice, right? And like when you and I took the class together, it was fairly early on in
It was in
COVID,
March.
but way back in March. But we were already having trouble, even in our store, AZ Firearms, we were having trouble keeping 9mm on the shelves.
Mhm.
And that was the gun that we were supposed to come to the training with. And the teacher, David Laird of Dynamic Combative Solutions, he modified the class a little bit so that it would be easier for people
Mhm.
to attend and still get in the practice, but not have to burn through quite so much ammo, which is, it's even gotten more expensive since then.
Well, and I
So,
think he's still doing that.
mhm,
He's still decreased the amount of ammo that you need, because I think normally you need about 500 rounds and he's decreased it to almost 200, which is
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
So when a box of ammo costs more than a gun, there's something wrong,
yes,
right?
Yes.
yes. So, but you're right. You've got to have a lot of ammo on hand because you should be practicing regularly and burning through that ammo.
Mhm.
So yeah, good points. So another probably unexpected part of your journey is you're going to find yourself being a speaker
Yes.
at our rally coming up, our Celebrate and Protect Our Second Amendment rally happening on Saturday, February 20th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the lawn of the Arizona State Capitol. Uh, Tell us about that. I mean, how is that fitting into the rest of your world?
So what's super, super funny about this, and I was talking to a friend of mine, I do a lot of chatting, and last year I sat with Cassie, I sat with your family at the rally, and that was when I was very new. I bought my first firearm, I want to say like a week later. And so I was very new. And so I feel like it's crazy to think that now I actually have the opportunity to speak at this rally, which is mind blowing. But I think it speaks volumes to the importance, right? And that even if you don't think, you're like, gosh, I don't know anything about firearms, you can.
Yes.
You absolutely can. And you can, even in your own small ways, advocate for your own rights.
Absolutely. And I think that having a voice like yours is so powerful because you, like me, we're every woman. We're just normal people who have something to say that's based on our own journey and our own research.
Who said you were normal?
Oh, well,
Come on.
yeah, he lives with me. So maybe
No,
not
she's
fully normal, but normal-ish.
Right.
And so I do want to see your t-shirt because it represents a group that you and I participate in. And what does it say?
It says educate and it's crossed out legislate.
Yes. And so it's education over legislation because
Whoa,
laws.
whoa. What's on there? There's images of something on there. Oh my gosh. They're AR. Oh,
Big, black, scary
those are the M64s, aren't they? MQ92s or
Yeah. And so, yes, this is the teal t-shirt of the DC project, the national chapter, but you and I are working on trying to bring that voice to our state level and have women interact with, form relationships with, who knew you could do that, with our legislators, so that our voice carries more weight. And that we're trying to say that, laws are not, you can't legislate good behavior and moral behavior. But with education, we can encourage it and foster that in generation after generation. And I'm just so very tickled and proud that you are helping with that effort and that you're wearing our t-shirt.
Well, and we'll have a booth there.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And encourage
if
more
women are listening or they have questions, that'd be a really great opportunity to come and find out more of how they can do something and participate. And even if it's just like how I started, even in all of this, was just sharing little bits of information that I learned on my social media. And that literally had my friends, genuine friends, reach out to me. They're like, girl, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That it really describes way back when I first started even using like a Facebook. Like I was one of the last holdouts. I'm like, I don't know what this weird voyeuristic space in the world is. But anyway, I started putting my toe in the water. And then, I would say something about being a gun store owner or, something like that. And I kept waiting for like the horrible onslaught of awful, words people would use towards me. And really it was more what you're describing, but it was, like a message on the side privately, or a text to my phone, or, something in the grocery store when I'd bump into somebody. And it was 99.9% like, thank you for saying those things, because I don't feel safe enough to say those things. And I'm afraid that it might hurt my job, or it might hurt my, standing in the PTA or whatever. And that encouraged me to speak up more and speak up more and speak up. And now I've got this show. So
Well,
Sharon,
I think that was, I'm sorry.
Talk to other teachers? Do you talk to other teachers about firearms?
Actually, that was who I made I went shopping with this summer with some teachers. That's who calls me and says, hey, can we have coffee, and wants to know the difference. Because I think I mean, most of my friends are teachers. Like everybody I talk to are teachers. And I think they're definitely curious. And I mean, there's a whole piece about teachers having firearms. We're talking about teachers having firearms at home that I think is a great starting point. And for them to, it's education. I think people are afraid of what they don't know. They're afraid of what they see John Wick do. You're not John Wick. You're not going to do that. Don't worry. You're not John Wayne. You're not the Terminator. You're not gonna have to flip anything. It's not that intense. And I think that I don't say bringing it down because it's not dumbing down, but like making it accessible and normalizing protecting yourself. And
Absolutely.
I don't really use the word feminist, but I think that it's a woman's right to be able to protect herself always, no matter where she's at. And being able to carry is how I choose to protect myself. And I just simply feel safer.
That's fantastic. And being a mom of a child, we have one child who's a girl, who's a daughter.
Yeah.
And, have always felt so, I mean, it was normal in our life, but when I would stop and think about it, I would feel like it was such a blessing that we were able to empower her in those ways that, you can own a gun or you don't have to. You can carry a gun or you don't have to. There was never that stigma that she had to work through, at least in our family. And I love that you're giving that freedom to your daughter and she can choose for herself when she's of age.
Well, and what's funny is her dad is a firearm owner. Her grandfather on her dad's side does gunsmithing and is definitely a firearms owner. But it wasn't until I became a firearm owner that I sat with her and I'm like, okay, so these are the parts. This is what's safe. This is what's not safe. These are the things you have to do. These are the things that you don't do. When I'm doing my dry fire practice at home, she can do dry fire practice at home with me because I don't want her to be afraid. And I think fear is what is preventing so many women from taking the step to protect themselves, which is funny because you have to protect yourself because you're scared.
Yes.
You might be scared. You might have something that you're worried about. And this is definitely a way to not be scared. And so
absolutely,
I think it's important for her definitely to see that her mom is willing to protect her, willing to protect herself, but then also we talk about education. So what's funny is I was telling her how nervous I was to be on here today. And she's like, well, just run through it with me. Tell me the things that you're going to say. So I'm telling her and she was like, okay, don't try not to use acronyms because people don't really know acronyms. She's like, okay, tell them about the safety things. Where should you point the muzzle at anybody? No, you don't do that. People don't know that. Do you have a firing barrel in your home? You could just use sand. Like, that's awesome to me.
That's awesome to me.
13-year-old.
Yeah.
I love her and I love that you and her dad have instilled these kinds of thought processes in her. And the next thing we know, I'm going to have to interview her because she's solid.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I blame a lot of the firearms owners for where we're at today because back in the day, a long time ago, guys had the guns and they would take their guy friends and they would go shooting and then they'd come home and that was it. And if you look at it now, I mean, when you get women involved in guns, not only gives them the right to protect themselves, I mean, it helps them protect themselves, but it brings more conversation to the family. It brings more guns into the family. It brings so much more that it's not just a guy thing.
Right.
Very social creatures.
My mom didn't go, well, she didn't hunt much, but I mean, she was in it a little bit, but not like women bring the social part of it in. They are the ones that market everything they do, whether it's cooking, whether it's riding horses or whatever they do, they market that. I want her to market guns. I mean, to talk to her friends about them and do that. It's just better for all of us because instead of it being one-sided, now it's equal-sided and more powerful,
Yes,
right?
I agree.
I agree.
I don't know what I just
100%.
said.
All right. Well, we've got to wrap up. Miss Sharon, this has been too much fun. I really have enjoyed this. I think you are such a brave person that you have stepped so far out of your previous comfort zone. Like you said, less than a year ago, you even coming out to a thing called a rally, even though we're saying it's a celebration, it's an event. There's a lot of people that maybe would feel like, well, I don't know, those are going to be some weird, fringe people. I don't know that that's for me. And you even came there to just open your eyes and see what it was about. Thank you so much for the example you're setting.
Yes.
Thank you. I mean, it's definitely exciting, and I tell my bearded friend, I was like, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe, like, this is awesome. This is super exciting. And I'll tell him stuff, and he's like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, well, of course you know, but I didn't know. That's the whole thing. Did you know this is happening? He's like, I told you it was a problem. I didn't know it was a problem.
That's awesome.
That's
But thank you so
fantastic.
much. I'm so excited.
Me too. And we very much look forward to hearing what you are going to bring to the conversation on the lawn of our Arizona State Capitol building on Saturday, February 20th between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m.
Well, thank you guys so much for this opportunity. I cannot wait to see you guys out there.
Me
Thank
too.
you.
All right, lady. Well, hug your 13-year-old for us, and we will see you soon.
All right, fantastic. You guys have an awesome day. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Sharon.
Bye.
That is awesome. She is really what we need out there.
Yes. Holy cow. So fun. And again, I love we were coming up with our theme name as we were coming on the air. And I think Dan had said the unexpected, that how unexpected some of our journeys are. And I think that's the exact right phrasing for that, for this conversation. And I just love that, Sharon that she just always has thought for herself, but that she can now encourage others, be an example for others to look to as they are coming through their journey. All the teachers that have reached out to her. It's not like she was out there browbeating anybody, not like she was, saying, well, if you aren't a gun owner, you can't be my friend, which very often the other side does put people in that position, right? And that she has surrounded herself with people that are open-minded enough that that isn't their world, but they see that she puts a post up on Instagram or whatnot. And instead of, saying those things to her like, oh, well, we can't be friends anymore. They're like, so tell me about this. Like, I don't know that I'm really ready, but I'm interested.
Right.
That's awesome.
It
We need
is.
more of that.
And it's sad because like I have a neighbor that is not a gun person. He's an educator, and he doesn't like guns. And we talk.
Mhm,
We don't get into heavy conversations, but I'm not trying. I respect him.
mhm.
His beliefs. That's his deal.
Sure.
I I want them to respect mine too. And as long as I don't infringe on
Hmm.
their stuff,
Yeah.
then it shouldn't make any difference. And to be able to have a conversation is extremely important. And Sharon's a good example. I was so proud to hear her say that when somebody told her something, she researched it and
Yeah.
came up with, oh, maybe they're right.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's start wrapping up.
Oh, you want me to rap?
No. I think we covered this on the last episode.
Okay.
We're going to start winding up,
Winding down.
winding down. Whatever it is we're doing, we just want to thank Sharon for being the voice that she is, for, even though she said, I'm a little bit nervous to be on the show, that she didn't let that stop her. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for our amazing listeners who are doing the same kinds of things, stepping out of your comfort zone, having these conversations, taking these topics into your conversations with your spheres of influence. Um, pointing back to the subject matter experts that we do interview here on Gun Freedom Radio. And that is where the rubber meets the road. These conversations are a blast. We have a great time during this time sitting here behind the microphone. But if you out there weren't carrying the conversations forward, they really wouldn't have much of an impact. And we definitely are seeing them having an impact. And so, really, the credit goes to you. And we thank you to our listeners. And you can go to our website, click the on demand tab at gunfreedomradio.com
And binge listen to your heart's content, darling.
exactly. Thank you. Almost sounded exactly like me.
I even
Like your
felt like I
hair
had
turned dark.
long hair. And
Yeah.
everything.
I
Wow.
mean, it was eerie for a moment. I felt like
Throw
I
'em to
was
the garbage.
looking looking right at myself. Um, so do I tell you to empty the garbage? Yeah, I probably do. Okay, so
Somebody's got to do it.
somebody's got to do it. Click the guest tab. You'll see photos and bios and links to the work of all of the guests that we've ever had on. It's a tremendous resource, and we don't hate it when you spend time there. I want to point out this t-shirt I'm wearing. I'm really not much of a t-shirt wearer, but every once in a while, a very special one comes along. This one was sent to me by a wonderful man named Gunny out of Florida. And he is with a veterans group that just supports the Second Amendment and other people and voices and groups that support the Second Amendment. He took this logo that was created by Jeff Knox, who's a Arizona guy, a couple of years ago for a big rally that was on the lawn of the U.S. Capitol building, and they kept it as an open source logo, just for good people to use for good purposes. So Gunny found this logo. He made this T-shirt and a few other items, a pin and one of these badges. What's patches? And sent it to me just as an encouragement for the work that we do. And I thought, God bless him and thank you. And I just wanted to spend a moment and appreciate. They don't even have a website for me to send people to. So that tells me that their motives are pure. They just want to lift up people doing good work and give us encouragement. And it is felt, it is appreciated. And I thank you, Gunny, and your group for that. And without further ado, yes? Any other closing thoughts, Mr. Todd?
No, I think we should probably just pray for our country.
Okay. I like that
And I don't
idea.
mean that casually.
Yeah?
No, I mean pray for our country.
Yeah, absolutely. Pray for our elected officials, our leaders, the people
leaders.
that have been
They're
put in
elected officials.
positions.
They're not leaders.
Yeah.
They're not leaders.
Okay. I'll
If
give
they
you
lead,
that.
then they would be they're leading. No, they're not. No, they're just elected officials. Pray for
Okay.
them.
Representatives, our elected representatives,
some
hopefully.
of them represent us.
And this is why they need our prayer, right?
Yes.
All of them.
Oh, they need a prayer. Every single inch of them needs it.
Even the ones you don't like?
A lot of them. I don't like.
Especially the ones you don't like. Be good to each other. Have a great week. And God bless.
Bye bye.